It's one day after the World Press Freedom Day, and the good news that Nigerians, some of them stranded in Sudan, are back, and some of the ones will be arriving today. Welcome to Sunrise Daily. I'm Neota Igbe.
Well, good news to start with is always something very wonderful to share. Good morning and welcome to the program. I'm Malkwe Yusuf.
So keep that date, May 4, 2023. Yes, Malkwe, some of us don't remember until, only remembered when we were in primary school. Amaya Makede, good morning and welcome to the program. And this morning we are going straight into the papers, and we have with us here Kashmir Igbokwe, who is former editor Sunday Punch, former editor Hallmark newspaper, and he's now editor-in-chief Union newspaper. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Ayo.
We've had days when all the papers said the same thing. Today is not just one of those days. Oh, by the way, before we go into it, can you spare a minute to talk about the World Press Freedom Day that we celebrated yesterday? How have we fared, and what's missing? What should we be doing going forward?
Oh, thank you. Thank you. World Press Freedom Day we celebrate every year. For us in Nigeria, we are not doing badly in terms of press freedom, but there are still some hiccups here and there that the government needs to attend to. For instance, a number of journalists have been incarcerated just for airing the opinion. And even channels, I must say, if truth must be told, recently was fined 5 million, just for live interview of somebody. And I personally think it's not right. And there are some other infractions here and there the government needs to, look into. The press is there to guide the people, and the press is the voice of the people. When you suppress the press, you have suppressed the people. And so the government needs to actually, they are not doing badly considering other African countries where, people are worse. Have worse scenarios. Nigeria is not doing badly, but then we need to improve.
Okay. Well, I guess all pressmen have a consensus on that, and it's the consensus point we start with this morning. The Leadership newspaper opens with just that on its front page. National Assembly Leadership, APC may opt for consensus Senate President and Speaker. That's the lead of the paper this morning, and look at the writers. Opposition members elect form coalition to produce Speaker. NWC moves to end leadership crisis, asks Lukman to withdraw suit against Adamu Omishore. That story is the lead, and it continues on page 4. What do you make of this? There are those who point to the fact that this is the first time in Nigeria's presidential democracy experience that we're having a National Assembly that is not dominated more than 50% by the ruling party.
Well, it's a step in the right direction. It means that our democracy is growing. And what it means is that the ruling party, does not have that muscle, to breathe down on others as it used to. So the party has to sit up now, because if care is not taken, even the leadership of the House may be from the opposition parties. So it means that our democracy is growing, even though it still has some problematic areas. But the ruling party needs to sit up this time, because if care is not taken, I think it came about that way because of the PDP and the Labour Party. Labour Party made some inroads, in some states, and then the PDP. So the opposition combined may pose a challenge to the ruling party. And it's a matter of give and take. It's dialogue here and there for our democracy to move forward. So it's not a question of now one party now being lords over others. So that dialogue, that the spirit of give and take, which democracy is known for, which is about democracy, will have to begin to germinate in our democracy now.
But we're very close to it in 1993. You remember the NRC already dominated the National Assembly, both chambers, even though, it was a two-party system.
Yeah.
The NRC already dominated the National Assembly, but the presidency was clearly going to the opposition.
Yeah.
So it never happened.
It never, I wanted to say that. It never happened. 1993 was the unfortunate June 12 annulment, and you know what transpired thereafter. We never even recovered fully from that.
Well, anyway, that's the lead story of the Leadership newspaper this morning, and a number of other stories that you will find quite interesting, including this one. Ekwerimadu, Senate begs UK court for clemency. Find that story on page 13. Several others will all certainly meet up with on the front pages of other papers, but that's the Leadership newspaper this morning.
Well, let's take a look at what Daily Trust has now. You see the Speakership opposition intensifies plot to upstage APC. Well, that's what Daily Trust has on the front page. Says, we're more than prepared. It's a fruitless move. That's according to the chief whip. Will abide by ruling party's decision. That's according to Task Force Forum. They can succeed, but that's according to analysts. You might want to read on what the but says. We're working on consensus. That's according to Adamu. Well, you already heard our guest there talk about what this might mean and how possible this is. So let's look at another story there. Sudan crisis. Nigerian evacuees airlifted from Egypt without luggage. Well, I don't know how you see this story, but this is how Daily Trust is reporting it. I'm sure there's a reason why they have reported that they were airlifted without luggage. Page 30 is where you see details there. You see them, the pictures there, even giving you details of how, giving you proof, more or less, of how they boarded Air Peace aircraft and then those in the C-130. And I was just asking myself, if I were caught in this situation, Makwe, is it possible for you to really leave without your luggage? I don't know. This is a bit odd, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is odd. Obviously, it's a continuous story of Nigeria, where I may say some odd things happen and we'll take it for granted. Initially, this story started by people saying Nigerians were stranded and no attempt to evacuate them. And now, even those that were, when some attempts were made to evacuate them, the next story was that they got to a point and the vehicle broke down and all that. Even yesterday, I watched a video where some people were lamenting that they were still stranded, in Egypt, in Sudan, that the buses came and picked some people and left them. So I don't really know. And this one now, you pick people and you leave their luggage. I don't know why that happened. Is odd and is I don't want to say it's laughable, because if you are in their shoes, you will not feel happy. Consider when you travel from one place to the other, and it happens sometimes. You land, you look for your luggage, and for one reason or the other, the airline tells you, oh, maybe your luggage is taken to another state or somewhere else. You don't feel settled until you get your luggage. So whatever caused it, those in charge should really look into it and ensure that these people get their luggage. It's not a palatable story at all. If we have to evacuate our people, we have to evacuate them totally. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure that, the people who were evacuated will be, happy to be home, and those who, their parents and their loved ones will be happy to see them back hale and hearty, considering the fact that they didn't go on holiday, they're coming from a war situation. And I hate to quickly divulge what I have just read, but it does appear that I think there was some dispute with the Egyptian authorities who insisted that everybody had to leave. And so they had to make the aircraft take more more people. But I think they were able to sort out the luggage part of it. It's just the reporting here that I'm seeing. I'm just wondering how we take this particular story. It does appear that now, when we look at the story, we're not now looking at the people who have now safely returned. We're now going to be focusing on whether or not they came back with their luggage. I don't know. This is where we currently are. We are still expecting more people. A lot more Nigerians are still stuck between Sudan and Egypt. Considering how the first batch has now finally gone, do you think that there is hope that perhaps we might be able to get the second batch and maybe even the third batches in good time?
We always have to have hope. Without hope, then it means we are dead. So we always have hope, and we believe now we have seen the loopholes. I believe those in charge will, work on the loopholes and get the other people evacuated, even with their luggage, and not just evacuating just the people. As we say here in Nigeria, thank God that they are alive. Thank God that they are here, that they've been evacuated alive. So no matter what, their life is precious. They are the most important thing for now. Luggage, yes, with time, perhaps, they will be sorted out. But for now, we thank God for their safe evacuation. We thank God for their safe arrival. And I'm sure their relatives, will be happy to see them back. So other problems, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs or the NIDCOM, Nigerian Diaspora Commission, should look critically and ensure that whatever problem that may arise is tackled before the second and third batch, are brought in.
Well, let's leave it there for Daily Trust newspapers.
And the Guardian newspaper is the next one here. Guardian's focused more on the Nigeria's debt profile, talking about 23.72 trillion naira debt that the government is owing. And you see the picture there of the four most important persons when it comes to debt issues in the country. Well, see the header, Nigeria to spend next 40 years repaying controversial 23.72 trillion naira CBN overdrafts to FG. We'll come back down. Let's above the nameplate. NAS leadership, Tinubu defers zoning decision after May 29. Check page 6. Project refund. I owe you nothing. Tinubu tells Wike. That's on page 27. So let's come back to this this story again. The one about the debt. 23.72 trillion naira. Nigeria to spend the next 40 years repaying controversial 23.72 trillion CBN overdrafts to FG. What do you think? 40 years of paying debts. What will happen to development and going forward?
Yeah, it's quite unfortunate. That 22 or 23 point something trillion naira is just the ways and means, or in other words, overdraft. And it's unfortunate. It's not even the entire picture of Nigeria's debts. It's just what the federal government is owing the CBN. And there are these stories about government even spending above the threshold, above the 5% threshold before even seeking for approval, which to me is not palatable. It's not good. We keep doing things with impunity and getting away with it. We need strong institutions in this country to tackle some of these things. Right now, Nigeria debt is over 40-something trillion naira. And then when you add these ways, you are talking of about 70-something trillion naira. It's quite a lot. And we have 40 years to repay. You are generating this debt, you are accumulating this thing for the next generation. It's not good. And this is a government that has few weeks to live. So why accumulate this debt? It's unfortunate. And the Senate is just approved it without, I don't know. We have a big problem in this country. And economy-wise, we are not doing well at all. This government came on board promising to fix the economy. As it is going, the economy is worse off. And it keeps accumulating. Even the percentage of money spent on servicing these debts, is quite huge. It's very unfortunate. We cannot grow our economy this way. We can't at all. Yeah.
It's a good way to put it. And now this particular overdraft that Nigeria will spend 40 years to repay is not even the main debt, as you mentioned earlier. But let's leave that and look at the story at the bottom of the page. Police officers, families to vacate 25 barracks for renovations. What do you think of this? I mean, there was a time there was this conversation about policemen leaving. They should not live in the barracks. They should live amongst the citizens. That way, security can be more, can involve the citizens more. But here we are. They're going to leave 25 barracks to come into town, or maybe government will provide somewhere else to them. But what do you think? Do you think, how long would that renovation take? That story continues on page 9, but the renovation, where they're going to live for the period that the renovations will be happening, would that be the opportunity to move the policemen away from the barracks into the regular society?
You said how long will it last? Only God knows. We look at the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. Since I came to Lagos, that road has been under repairs, under reconstruction, or whatever you call it. Today, it is still under reconstruction. It is still under repair. On my way to Channel this morning, we met a little traffic because of the construction on that road. And we were told it would be commissioned, was it not April 30? And it was not realized. Now we are in May. It will be commissioned in May. I won't be surprised if after May it will not be commissioned. The next government will inherit it, and they'll keep telling us every day or every month, Lagos-Ibadan Expressway is under repair. And then we are talking about the barracks. Only God knows, because they will evacuate, these policemen will leave for wherever the accommodation will be made for them. I won't be surprised if this innovation takes another incoming government. I'm not talking of the Bola Tinubu incoming government. The one after Tinubu will still come and be talking about renovation of barracks. It's unfortunate. The country, our leaders need to sit up. Our leaders need to sit up. We do things with impunity. We do things that we ordinarily cannot do elsewhere. And the unfortunate thing is that they visit other countries, they see how things are done, but the moment they come into their own country, everything changes. Nothing works. It's unfortunate, but I don't know when the Messiah will come. But Nigerians have been expecting good governance, they've been expecting this Messiah, but we have not seen. I don't know when it will come. As for the policemen, sorry for them. I don't know when their own barracks will be ready, but even if they are relocating them, let it be to a decent accommodation, better than where they were before. So that when they return, if they will ever return to the barracks, then they return to a far better environment. If you look at the barracks where they are staying now, is not where human beings should live. And these are the people entrusted with the security of the entire nation. They do this security thing with so much animosity. Sometimes their take-home pay does not even take them home. And that is why you see a lot of corruption. You see them on the road asking for bribes and all that, and we condemn them. But we fail to understand the condition under which they live. We need to improve their condition. We need to make life better for them so that they will secure us effectively. If we don't do that, forget it. The security situation in the country, even as we speak, is not something to cheer about. So security is key. Right. The government needs to take care of the security men and women, accommodation, salary-wise, and what have you. So the barracks...
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
You were saying the barracks?
Yeah, I said the barracks, I said it before, the barracks where they stay now currently, if you have an opportunity to visit, most of those barracks are an eyesore. They are an eyesore. And good enough, they are being renovated now. Good. They are being renovated. And at the end of the day, let the renovation not take a lot of time. Renovating a building, highest few months, they should be done with that, so that these people will relax, have a relaxed and good atmosphere to do their work. Outside that, I don't know. So we keep hoping for the best.
All right, thank you. We'll leave the Guardian at that one. Ayo.
Well, thank you, Nyota. Interestingly, at least for eons, we've been talking about renovation of those barracks. There are 25 of them. I wonder how many policemen and their families are within those barracks. Let's just, as you said, hope for the best. By the way, that information about the evacuees traveling without their luggage, there's another report that another airpiece is bringing those luggage back home. I guess we'll have to confirm that as well. Nigerian News Direct has this one on its front page, and where you are talking about the economy. 26 days to hand over, Buhari unveils Agenda 2050, eyes 165 million jobs. That story is on the fourth page, page 4 of the paper. Look at the writers. Targets increase of per capita income to $33,328 per annum. Aims at placing Nigeria amongst world's top economies by 2050. President urges incoming administration to implement plan. Find that on page 4. What do you make of that? Ambitious, isn't it?
Yeah, it's another laughable ambition.
Oh.
It's laughable, yes, because we are very good in churning out agendas and good policies. But how do we implement them? Agenda 2050. What happened to Agenda 2015 to 2023? Where we are, Nigerians, the present government made a lot of promises. How many of such promises, we are redeemed? And now you are leaving office, you are giving us Agenda 2050. What were you able to do? What were you able to do when you were in power? And then, it's laughable because you say you will create how many thousand million jobs, and even now, how many jobs did this government create? Conservatively put, our unemployment rate is 33.3%. I bet you it's over that. It's just conservatively put. I think that figure has been since 2020. Recently, if the NBS, Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, if they do another one, you discover that it will be way higher. So 33.3% is even on a conservative level. Do you see any good lining in the horizon? What gives you that impression that it will create 130-something, million jobs in 2050? Where are the companies? Meanwhile, the ease of doing business is not there. The companies are folding up. Some of them are easing off workers. And then you are talking of creating more jobs. How? The question is how? How do you do it?
Well,
it's so easy to say, but how do you do it?
But two things you seem to be saying. Number one, we review the previous plans. And number two, you tell us the plan to execute this one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's move on. A couple of other stories. 376 evacuees arrive Abuja from Sudan. That's find that on page 22. And then this one, FG Roads, Wike eyes project fund. Tinubu replies, I owe you nothing. The story is one thing. The perspective or the context within which it's said is another thing. Sometimes it gives an editor a challenge, doesn't it?
It does. And most state governments, are fond of delving into federal roads, repairing, reconstructing. At the end of the day, you're asking for a refund. Did Wike get approval from the federal government before embarking on the road? I guess he did not. So before you ask for any refund, you have to get approval first to do the road. Once you didn't get any approval, then you don't need to ask for any refund. If refund is made, fine, you are lucky. If it's not made, so be it. So the asking for refund when you didn't even seek for approval in the first place is neither here nor there.
Well, as you often say, that's governance and that is politics. I guess we'll see how it plays out.
We'll see how it plays out. Well, if Tinubu comes in and Wike is trying to worm his way into the incoming administration, and maybe he will keep on lobbying as Asiwaju Tinubu said, let Wike continue to lobby, and let's see and hope that the refund will be made.
Okay.
Because we are very good in lobbying. You see what is going on at the National Assembly, lobbying for the Senate President, lobbying for the Speaker of the House of Representatives. And this, the South is saying is our turn, the Northwest saying is our turn, the North Central saying is our turn.
Well, maybe we need to create a timetable so that we know who is next on the roster. Kasmiri Mbokwe, thank you so much for coming this morning. He is editor-in-chief, Union newspaper, former editor, Sunday Punch, and former editor, Hallmark newspaper. And with that, we come to the end of a look at the papers. Some of the papers, the headlines this morning. We're back right after now to delve into one of those issues. Please stay with us.
And welcome back. Just before we get into that conversation about the leadership of the National Assembly, Marco, when we opened, we mentioned that some of the Nigerians that were stranded in Sudan arrived yesterday. I think the first batch, the first group of Nigerians arrived about 11:40 p.m. Then on an Air Peace flight. The next batch arrived about midnight on the Air Force C-130 plane, and there are other batches that are coming in. But the process that culminated in this evacuation is one that a lot of people there's been that back and forth as in who's in charge, who's not in charge. But then the most important thing is, can Nigerian citizens be reached and brought back? And you mentioned something about the excess luggage. Indeed, a Daily Eye reporter who was there talked about the fact that they had issues with their luggage. Some were carrying 2-3 bags, and even though they had been instructed, carry only one luggage, it wasn't, I mean, so that's what you saw on the screen. There's a clip of the plane that conveyed Nigerians back from Sudan.
Yes, indeed. I think that, eventually when now that they have arrived, we can then ask them for sure what happened. Because our correspondent, Dele Moyene, spoke of excess luggage yesterday, that they were having issues with that. But, further detail is telling us that, it was that they had to be able to take more people and might need to, find a way to handle the luggage later. So we also understand that they made provisions to be able to take some of the luggage, especially for those on the C-130, that's a military plane, to have it in the cargo hold of Air Peace. Because the Egyptian authorities kept on saying that they wanted, Nigerians to be off their soil, because this is a humanitarian arrangement. You didn't get any visa to come into their country. So, but thankfully, they were able to sort that out, and, the Nigerians were able to arrive in one piece. So when we eventually, I think, is that the students, as they arrived, entering the buses from last night, thank God they arrived in one piece, and I think that's the most important thing. We also understand that priority was given to the women. Yeah. So ladies were boarded first, and we can see that even some of them had children on them. Now, whether they were all students, I mean, that's another kettle of fish, because don't forget that, there was talk around who were going to be the priority. The federal government said students first, and I think also even in giving priority to students, they also gave priority to female students first. So it's good to see them back home. It will be good to have conversation with them as to, how did that go? What was the controversy about the luggage? It wasn't that you had more than one bag as instructed by the Nigerian government, but what we're reading also is that the military aircraft had to even take more people than the 80 capacity, which it was intended for, so that they could accommodate more people, coming back home.
It's a good thing that whatever was needed to be done was done just to get the Nigerians back home. I understand that when they came in, they had to go through a processing, filling out forms, data forms and all that, just so that the authorities are sure who is who. I mean, in a crisis situation, sometimes it might be difficult to identify the people. So when they come into the country, they go through that process of record taking and all of that for data purposes and for record keeping. It's a good thing that they're here, and we hope that the next batch would arrive safely as well. And then also that I am looking forward to a day when, yes, there will be need to migrate. People will need to move. Fortunately for us, we have someone here who would explain to us, since he's in charge of customs and excise, he'll tell us exactly how it is that people can move conveniently and comfortably and still be able to move back and forth. Well, moving from that matter of the students or Nigerians who were stranded in Sudan, let's begin to look at our conversation today, start our conversation today from the papers to the leadership of the House of Representatives. That race is still on. Who is going to be the speaker? There are some who are insisting that they have the qualification, and then some endorsements have been made as well, as per endorsing this person and endorsing the other person. But in the studio today, we have a member of the House of Representatives, who is also the chairman of the House Committee on Customs and Excise, representing the Yagba East, Yagba West, Mukbamuro Federal Constituency of Kogi State, Honorable Leke Abejide. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Good morning, Nigerians.
Honorable Leke Abejide also happens to be the governorship candidate of the African Democratic Congress in Kogi State.
Yes.
Well done.
Thank you so much.
So you want to leave the National Assembly to the #1 position in the state?
Of course. God willing, I'm going to become the governor of Kogi State by 11th of November, 2023. God willing.
Okay, let's not run ahead of ourselves. Let's come back here and look at the matter of the leadership of the House of Representatives. There's been all manner of permutations and conversations and endorsements. Let's put aside the endorsement and the permutations and let's look at what qualities should be put forward in selecting the Speaker of the House of Representatives.
Thank you. To look at the qualities is not far-fetched. Looking at the current Speaker, Right Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, look at the competence, look at capacity, look at inclusiveness, and you look at what we call the joint task, that is carrying every political parties in the House together in peace, able to coordinate. These are the qualities we are expecting from whoever is going to emerge as the Speaker of the 10th National Assembly. And we have areas of aspirants. We have the current Deputy Speaker, who is also very competent. We have Honorable Betara Aliyu, who is equally very competent. And we have some new people joining. Among the aspirants, I don't know most of them, apart from these two and some few others, like the female among them, Miriam, Princess Miriam Manohar, and Gaji. These are the people that are now looking for the seat. But if you look at the people that have the experience, it's about experience as well. You must know the rules of the House. You must know how to conduct the rules of the House. If you are just coming as a new member, you are just a novice. It takes you time to learn the process. And, well, some of us, like Gaji, myself, Miriam, we are just going to be second-timer by the 11th of June. We are all first-timers. While people like Wasi have been there for, I think this will be his 4th time. And Aliyu Betara is going to be the 5th time. So they have more experience than we. I expect that the people coming second time.
So you're thinking experience should outweigh competence and capacity?
I said it from the beginning that looking at the current Speaker, you start with capacity. You have experience. And then the ability to carry everybody along, that inclusiveness. That's what I said at the beginning. So is that you can't buy experience by the roadside, especially when it comes to this exalted position. Because if you are not experienced, somebody, a just ordinary member on the floor, can pull the Speaker down when it comes to issue of argument, and you don't know how to navigate. The Speaker now will be embarrassed on the seat. The whole world will be watching. So you need experience in order to be a good Speaker of the House of Representatives.
Okay.
So I'm just looking at, the fact that, well, I'm sure you're watching from the sidelines. You're looking at what is happening because you are suddenly facing another battle. It is interesting that you even bothered to come back to the House of Representatives, and even from there, you're looking to be governor of your state, face another election this year. One would have thought that perhaps you would just want to, face one election squarely, and maybe you wouldn't have bothered to contest for a second term from the people of your constituency. You're trying to, play safe. Is it that you're not very certain that, the ambition which you nurse as to being governor of Kogi State will eventually work out?
No, it is not like that. If you look at Kogi State election, is an off-cycle election. If it were to be doing at the same time with all other states, I wouldn't have contested the House of I would have faced the governorship election. But it's an off-cycle election, and I'm already a sitting member of House of Representatives, so I cannot sit down watching. So I have to contest. In fact, my people, I didn't buy the form. My people on their own contributed money and bought the form.
You know how many politicians tell us that? My people. My
this is on air. You can ask
money. And
you can ask it's on air now. If it is like people will tell you. Then when they went to buy the form, the party came and gave me free.
Are you not worried? Are you not worried that, I mean, this, because by the time you go to contest...
Allow me to even land. You said maybe I'm not sure whether I will be able to win the governorship election. That was why I went into the House of Representatives election. It is not so. Even in this governorship, I was not really much interested at the beginning. We were waiting for APC to give the ticket to my central district. That is Kogi West Central District, because we haven't been governor since the state was created. So we were watching when it was. We were looking at the body language of the governor. It was showing that he was going to give it to his kinsman. So and people now said for us not to go empty, I should take this form and just be watching whether the primary ticket will go our own way. So when it didn't go our own way, that was where I...
The primary ticket of the... Why do you have to watch that of the APC?
Why APC?
So we have, because
what about PDP?
If they have given to APC, you know, actually my party is ADC, but you know, I have a relationship with APC. So I would have not gone, go out for the contest. If somebody in APC have picked the ticket of the gubernatorial election in Kogi West, I would have supported whoever he brings. And we have people that were contesting then, like the current Commissioner for Finance, Idris Asiru, was contesting. And then Senator Smart Adeyemi was equally contesting. So if any one of them had gotten it, I had a lot of friends in APC. I was an APC person myself before.
Before you left for ADC?
Before I left for ADC. I would have supported any one of them.
Okay. So, I mean, what about Senator Dino Melaye?
Dino Melaye is of PDP.
Indeed.
And then, you know, in my place now, especially I can say in the Kogi West, PDP is not existing anymore. Most of the people that were in PDP before, they are in ADC.
But he's from your area, isn't he?
Yeah, he's from my area, but he's of PDP. I have no relationship with PDP.
So, isn't it, I mean, if this is now about where people are from, shouldn't people, you know, coalesce around the person whom they think will have one of the strongest chances to, you know,
yeah, you have already
to get it at the end of the day? Because if at the end of the day people are going to be voting along the lines of where we're from within exact senatorial district, shouldn't there be, because you're going to be dividing the votes of your district, wouldn't you?
It's not going to. Yeah, actually, you will take some votes, but definitely I will win the 7 local governments of my place. Already, my party is controlling 5 out of 7 in Kogi West. We have 2 federal House of Representatives, and the PDP has none.
Okay.
APC has 1.
You know, the dynamics that happen before the election day oftentimes do not play out after or on the election day or after that. If you're controlling 7 local governments, there's no guarantee that when you go into that contest, you will still control those 5 local governments.
Well, it is not about party, you know. For me to be able to win with a relatively unknown party, you should know that it's about the personality, not about the party this time. It is because what God has used me to do for the people for about 6 years now. I'm just like going to be 4 years, but I've been doing a lot of things across my place for more than 10 years. And people believe in me, especially they believe that whatever I say, I keep to the word.
Okay, so let us move to the matter at hand. I'm just a little concerned about the fact that, well, if it should happen that you win, INEC will be forced to conduct another by-election when, you know, your party or your people could have decided, you know, to just have somebody who was going to be there for 4 years. And then INEC knows, okay, you're conducting another elections for governorship, you know, and that is done. They don't have to worry about any other by-election again. But it appears that, you know, this representation is just temporary. Are you then interested in what is happening in terms of the tussle for speakership in the House of Representatives?
Of course.
Since you don't really hope to be a beneficiary of whatever leadership eventually emerges.
Why wouldn't I be beneficiary? I'm a member of House of Representatives, and I will continue to be a member until when I win that governorship election. So that is what it is. I'm interested who becomes the Speaker of the House of Representatives. Definitely. But I am sorry to say, the way it is now, APC has delayed. They ought to have zoned these offices before now. And I have said this times without number. I met with one of the leaders in the party. And I told him, I said, sir, it is high time you zone these offices. Because if you allow these aspirants to go very far, to bring them back and ask them to step down will be very tough. And then some of them must have agreement with members. So it is about interest. Members will look at who can support them more, where they can get benefit home. And if somebody has gone so far, has spent money, has advertised, and has done, consulted widely, and then the election is next few weeks, and then you ask him to step down, he will not step down. And if 3 or 4 of them now go to the floor, whoever is popular will emerge as the Speaker.
So you haven't heard, you haven't heard anything concretely in terms of, how the party intends, as the APC now, intends to zone, the leadership.
It's only a rumor we're hearing.
There's nothing concrete.
There's nothing concrete. It's a rumor we're just hearing.
That the speakership should be from the Northwest. Is that what you're hearing?
That's the rumor I had just this week. I have not had it. Because the Deputy Speaker is from North Central, and he has calculated that the things will be zoned to North Central. He gave up on petition that all the speakers that Northwest have had 4 speakers before now, starting from the day of Salisu Buhari, to Naba, to Tamboa, to the current governor of Cardinal State. So they've had 4 speakers. And he was of the opinion that this time it will come to North Central. But because of the election, now they are saying North Central is having the national chairman. And maybe because of that, they have to zone it to Northwest. And Northwest equally gave a lot of votes to the president-elect. And it's not good to leave them with nothing. So that's why they're trying to zone it to Northwest. But in the Northwest, we have Dr. Tajuddin Abbas coming out. Now we have Honorable Dodogwa coming out. I think somebody like Jaji, I've never met him, I don't know him, I'm just hearing his name. I only met him on Sunday for the first time. So these are the 3 people going out from Northwest.
Again, this matter of where the person's from, the Northwest or North Central, as the case may be, or the qualities you had reeled out, experience, capacity, competence. Now, there are those who argue that competence and capacity is relative. It's based on where you're looking at the elephant from. It could be small or it could be big. But let's look at the numbers as they are. I'm looking at a breakdown of the numbers in the House of Representatives. For now, there are 2 seats that are pending, so to speak. But let's see this. The APC has 176 seats, right?
176.
176.
I think 178.
Okay. Let's just say over 100.
After the supplementary election.
178. But you have 19 seats, NNPP, ADC, and all of that. What if these other parties, as the spread as it is, decide that, okay, this is what we want? Yes, you might say the majority, that the party with the majority of seats would almost always produce or should produce the speaker.
Yeah, that's the rule.
That's the rule.
Yeah.
But is it a rule of the party or the rule? Is it your rule book? The rule of the House, that the party with the largest number should produce
the speaker, yes.
Contrary to, and it aligns with the Constitution that says they will select their leader amongst themselves. The Constitution did not say it should be of any political party.
The Constitution allows us to use our rules. to guide ourselves and all our procedures. So that's what we are using. And there's no, it's not even possible. No, it's easy to say it. How can you say all the parties come together? If you are counting now, you count me.
Of course.
You cannot count me because...
Because you've already decided.
Yes, I'm always with APC. Wherever APC goes, that's where I go. So, and that, we cannot count 2 or 4 that are APC to be part of this.
Wait, you've used this relationship with APC a couple of times here now.
Yes.
Are you...
an extension.
An extension of the APC?
In the House, APC is ADC, ADC is APC. That is how we relate. And if you look at the people that I'm working with, that I'm relating with, like Honorable James Faleke, we have been doing politics together from the state. So I belong to Audu Faleke group in the state.
Just before...
When we lost Audu as our leader, we adopted him as our leader. Just before
our colleague in Lagos has a question, but I want to ask you mentioned a female aspirant for the speakership, Honorable Miriam Onoha. Are you guys even considering that she might have what it takes to bring a new life to the House of Representatives?
Well, I'm not Miriam. I don't know her capacity in that.
But you mentioned her amongst the people
She's among the aspirants.
Okay.
Yeah, but...
and she's of the APC?
She's of the APC. Well, it depends if the zoning favors her. But if the zoning doesn't favor her, there's nothing she can do. I don't think she can walk against the zoning.
So you don't think it is also possible for the minority parties to come together and make majority since they have the numbers?
It's not possible. Because within these minorities, everybody is looking for one thing or the other. So interest comes first. So somebody in PDP will not want somebody in NMPP to take over the leadership. Then somebody in NMPP will be looking toward that it doesn't want somebody in SDP to take it. So there is no cohesion the way you are thinking. So at the end of the day, what I just believe is that the candidate or the aspirant who has the sympathy of the minority parties will win the speakership.
Okay, let's. Our colleague Ayo has some questions for you. Ayo.
But I would actually like to start where Maokwe took off from, and that is concerning the position or opinion or the authority that the minority groups now have as a result of the results that we have as of now, which you raised with him the other time. If it is possible for us to look at this so that you can also have a pictorial representation of what we are talking about now, you see that, as you said, yes, that's it, 178 seats belong to the APC, but that's lower than the total of others, 182. Yes, you have spoken about interests, but you know that interest falls on both sides. On the one hand, you are saying that if your party does not select you or someone from your zone in your party, you're going to shift to another party to be a governorship candidate. So what if we have people in the APC who decide to go with a substantial number decides to go with the minorities, so to speak?
Okay. 178 plus 2, that's 180. And you need, when I say plus 2, you can't do this. Then you win with 180 plus 1. That is the formula. You cannot win with just 180, 180 plus 1. And definitely, I have said it. I said the minority is going to play a major role because they have greater numbers. And any of the aspirants within APC that have the sympathy of the minority will win the speaker. Go and write it down. Because APC cannot even be one. The whole 178 you are talking about, all the aspirants have their own people within. Honorable Betara Aliyu has his own people. Honorable Wasi, the deputy speaker, has his own people. These are the major contenders. We should not deceive ourselves. So, and Jaji that is coming new have his own people, though they may be very few. So now, the person that is being loved or being accepted by the minority parties like PDP, like ADC, like SDP, like NMPP, and the rest of them will win that speakership because he will get the greater numbers to defeat others. As it is now, no candidate wants to step down for anybody. As it is.
Well, Honorable, another question that comes to mind naturally is the 2015 experience. It was the APC against the APC, and we saw what happened at that time. Should there be such a scenario again, and the minorities, as you put it, decide to go with this minority APC group, it would seem then that the APC could lose the grip of the House of Representatives. And if the same thing happens in the Senate, same thing goes. The APC could lose grip. I'm asking this question against the background of the need, as you guys, the politicians often say, to collaborate, to consult, to lobby and all those things. How much of that is going on to factor in the critical importance of carrying along, as the so-called minorities have demanded, these groups of people, so there is that sense of inclusion? How much of that is going on within the APC?
Well, what is going on within the APC, I may not know very well, but the scenario you are trying to paint, like the 2015, I think it's going to be a little bit different because now whoever emerges among these aspirants, either Honorable Betara Aliyu, either Honorable Wase, or Honorable Jaji, I think they have a relationship with the president-elect, the three of them. So it's not going to be like when Dogara emerged and could not even see the president. But I believe whoever emerges among these three will be accepted by the president because they are all his boys too. They know him very well and he knows them very well. And in the House, once the speaker emerged, the issue of political party fizzled out. Everybody now become one. What we have is the agenda of the House, how to execute the agenda of the House. You can hardly see this one say, PDP, this is APC, this is ADC. We become one and rally around whoever emerges as the speaker. That's how it is. If you look at this current speaker, that is what we did. That's why we have what we call nation building, a joint task. So it is a joint task for all of us. So once you emerge, that's it. You become the father to everybody. Well, so issue of APC will be having a problem. No, it will not happen.
Okay. But, you know, three major issues have played significant roles in this election, this 2023 general election so far. Political parties, which we have been talking about, and then that of religion and zone. Which of these is likely to play the most prominent role in the selection of the leadership of the House?
Well, I think both will play. Zoning is important because if you want to win an election as a president, you need to spread across this whole 36 states, Abuja, FCT inclusive. Then, issue of religion, because of the emergence of the two leaders in the country, happen to be Muslims. I think the issue of religions will also play a role in the leadership of the National Assembly. For example, the Senate President cannot be Muslim, the number 3 person. Otherwise, in the next election, it will be very tough for APC. You can see the result of the last election. If PDP and Labour had come together, we will not be talking of APC by now. And everything is about religion. If you look at the vote that Konkoso polled, is that of Christian and Muslim. The vote that Obi polled is that of Christian and Muslim. The vote that Atiku polled is that of Christian and Muslim, majorly, because they were looking for balancing. And Christian were, majority say, okay, they want a Christian vice president, not a Muslim vice president. So in this case, I will advise that APC should balance it with religion this time. The Senate president should come from the South and should be a Christian to balance it. In the area of the speaker, if you look at the northwest, northeast, they cannot get that. They cannot get a Christian. It's very, very clear. So I said they come to North Central, okay, where they will see a Christian.
So do you think this understanding that you are communicating now is accepted by many of the people you say are canvassing for the #1 spot in the House of Representatives?
That is what?
Do you think the understanding, the position you have now about zoning, about religion within your party and even among all the contenders, do you think they're yes, giving any consideration to it?
Of course they are doing that. It's a popular opinion. They are doing that. It's part of the things that they are putting into consideration so that... I can't hear him.
Go ahead, please. Go ahead.
Okay. No, okay. It's part of the parameters they are looking at. If you don't do it, it's going to be calamitous for the party in the next election. Okay. Because people will now look at it as it's a one religion's party. So they must look at the balancing religious-wise.
Okay. Well, just one question from me.
Otherwise,
yes,
it's not going to bring good thing.
Okay. Just one more question from me, and my colleagues can take it over. And that is the issue about your aspiration for the #1 seat in your state, Kogi. On the website of the National Assembly, it says you're a member of the PDP. You're saying now that you're a member of the APC, but you are contesting on the platform of the ADP. Please help me understand.
No, that one has been corrected. Maybe you are looking at the old. Maybe you are looking at the old platform. It has been corrected. Initially, when I came, that was what they were, insinuating. I'm not a member of PDP.
Have you ever been a member of the PDP?
African. I'm not a member of the PDP.
Have you ever been a member of the PDP?
Of course, I was a member of PDP. Not really a real member. That was 2014. It's a long time now.
Okay. Now, are you currently a member of the APC or are you a member of the ADP?
I'm a member of ADC, African Democratic Congress.
ADC, my apologies. So
it is the party that is reigning now in Kogi State.
Okay.
God willing, we will take over the states.
Were you employed by the people or elected, as you say, by the people on the platform of the ADC or the APC?
I was elected on the platform of African Democratic Congress twice.
Okay.
To the House of Representatives.
Okay. So, knowing that, I mean, you say...
And when I was coming this time, I didn't come alone.
Okay.
I also came with the next constituency to me, the next federal constituency to me, that is Kababunu Jumu Federal Constituency.
Okay. Now,
we also won.
Honorable...
I wanted to check very well about my antecedent.
Okay.
And people don't even really know my party as at then. It is my name they were using to vote.
Okay. Now, Honorable, let's factor in some of those contentions that you have before you, the hurdles before you. #1 is the power of incumbency, which the governor currently has. And as you very well know, many will say he's quite a strong personality. Then that of the opposition PDP, the person of Dino Melaye, of course, you cannot remonstrate. You can't just push aside. But you are now telling us that the ADC is the leading, most popular party in Kogi State. As Maokwe already told you, that's what all politicians say. But at the end of it, things go different and we don't hear anything about it. So let's be pragmatic. Exactly what are your chances? And do you have facts to prove that you have better chances than anyone else?
Okay, let me start from the governors. The governors being an incumbent, the power of incumbency. Now in Nigeria, the power of incumbency does not work anymore. When Beavers came, it has shown that whoever is popular on ground can win an election irrespective of the party you belong to. And you can say, otherwise, I wouldn't have won the second term. Go and see my result. If you see the result of APC and PDP put together, it's like half of my votes, the two of them combined. And the other side, my candidate that contested in Kababunu Jumu contested against sitting Speaker of the State House of Assembly with their own power, everything they did. We won him. So that is to tell you that now, election now, the votes now counts. And if you talk of the issue of Dino Melaye, yes, Dino Melaye, you know, there is difference between being famous and being popular. Famous is you are known. People know you, maybe as a result of comic thing you do, or you are more on social media. People will be seeing you, but you are not being loved. But when you are popular, people know you and love you. So I don't want to, blow my own trumpet, but go and ask about me. When it comes to this election that we are going into, you will understand who is more on ground. Even as we speak now, ADC has 2 House of Representatives from Kogi, where that both of us came from. PDP has none. ADC has House of Assemblies elected in this last election. PDP has none. So you can see. And it is not, the party is not known like that as at then, but now it's more known because of what I do for the people. Most especially, I'm the one paying white fees for the 5 local government for my place. I've been doing my own constituency for the past 5 years, going to 6 years now. And now I'm trying to, because people have been coming to me, that what I'm doing in my constituency is only my people that I enjoy, including my traditional rulers, because I provide vehicles for all of them, SUV for all of them. So I don't want them to be moving around. So people want this thing to go across the state. The work people, man, possibly God help me, maybe before election. This year on, maybe by October, if God give me the capacity, I will pay the 21 local government. And this has been my logo. And the widows as well, all the widows, I know the number of widows in my constituency. I have 8,869 widows in my federal constituency. So I know them. I clothe them, I feed them. So, and this program is my program that I can do across the state. This is what made me to be popular. Women are behind me. It's difficult for anybody to upstage me. And that's why you see, despite all those powerful conversations you are saying, my election people say, no, if it is my own, they must go and do it. And that's what's happened.
Honorable Abejide, listening to you now, I'm almost convinced to vote for you if I was from Kogi, but I'm not from Kogi. You will vote for me. Ask me. But I'm not from Kogi. But besides all of this, the things you say you have been doing and why you should be voted for, there are things on ground that should be, I mean, constitutionally wise, governance, welfare, and security of the people. And security has been a challenge in Kogi. Now, someone drove through Kogi State a couple of days ago and has his opinion that Kogi State should be more developed, being the confluent state. I mean, that's where the 2 major rivers meet. Kogi State should be more developed and should have more investment, should be a tourist site. But at the end of the day, it's politicking we get to hear from Kogi State. So you say you want to be governor. What makes you think that the people of Kogi should vote for you? What difference are you going to make in the lives of the people?
Thank you so much. Let me start with the issue of security you have said. Well, Governor Yabelo, in terms of security, he tried his best. Give it to him. But it's not enough. Why the security challenge is a bit problematic is because most of our youth are idle in the state. If you go to Kogi State now, go to all the local government secretariats, they are locked up. You cannot see human being operating in most of them. They don't, even the chairman don't go to office. They stay at home. Some stay in Lokoja. Many stay in Lokoja because nobody is working in the local government. Again, because they are not being paid, they are getting 15%, 20% salary. So even the money you get cannot take you to the office in terms of transport. So what will you go and do? Everybody will go to farm and look for what they will eat for themselves. And if the local government is killed, definitely you should be expecting.
You have less than 10 seconds to say what it is that you're going to do.
So what I'm going to do as a governor, number one, I will improve on the security because I will make the local government to work.
Okay.
Then I will make them to get their full salaries. then I will make sure that infrastructural development that I'm doing in my own constituency, which you can go and check, will go around the states.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you so much. Honorable Liki Abejide is Chairman, House Committee on Customs and Excise, and he's also the governorship candidate of the African Democratic Congress, Kogi State. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you for having me.
And we wish you well. Sunrise Daily will be back in a moment. Do stay with us.
This is a notice of meeting to all newly elected senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. This is to invite all newly elected senators to an important meeting scheduled as follows. Venue, Fraser Suite, Plot 294, Leventis Close, Central Business District, Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. Date, Friday, May 5th, 2023. And the time is 8:30 p.m. Please endeavor to attend, as important issues pertaining to the overall interest of all members will be discussed. Announcer, Pro Tem Convener, Salih Mustafa, Senator-elect, Kwara Central Senatorial District.
His Eminence Onaiyekan, John Cardinal Onaiyekan joins us this morning. He is Archbishop Emeritus of Abuja Diocese. He joins us. Thank you so much, Your Eminence, for joining us this morning. Elections have come and gone. 26 or thereabout days before the inauguration of the next governments at the federal level and the states where elections held for governorship candidates. From your assessment of post-election conversations, what is your opinion of how well or not we have fared in that face of all of the discordant tunes and divisive comments and statements that we have seen and heard?
Thank you very much for bringing me to your program. You started by saying the election has come and gone. I'm just wondering, is the election over? I'm saying this because according to the electoral law, the elections are not over until it is over. And there are cases in court that has not been disposed with. That is why we are in an anomalous situation. We have a declared president-elect whose election is being challenged and the courts are handling it. I think I'm entitled to take the position that I'm still waiting for the courts to tell me who won the election. That is why I say we're in an anomalous situation. And I'm one of those who have been saying it doesn't make much sense to be swearing in people when they are still in court. I know it has happened with governors. But the outcome has really not been the best of all cases. I don't think we ought to review our election process so as to make sure that we do have a winner who will be sworn in and whom everybody will rally around. It is still, I cannot understand. I am not a legal man, I'm not a judge. It's a pity that it's taking so long for the courts to make up their minds on this matter. Therefore, my problem now is that the whole system of our election need to be properly reviewed so that it should be easier for winners to emerge according to the wishes of the people. And here, therefore, I even have very basic questions. Do we really want democracy? From what we are seeing from political actors, it seems many of them are not really interested in democracy. They want power by all means. By all means. Now, this is an issue we must agree. Do you know, we know that for 30 years, this country was ruled by people who held guns, not by democracy. We were forced to obey everybody. And they became our president, one after the other. But we agreed at that time that was not the way for Nigeria to move. If we don't want it with people carrying guns, well, I don't think we should be accepting it with people who can just manipulate the system and frustrate the wishes of the people.
Your Eminence, if I can...
Because they have resources.
My sincere apologies. If I can just quickly take, follow up on one of the issues that you raised earlier when you said you're still waiting for the courts to tell you who won the election. There have been a number of contestations by some civil society organizations that it's the people, the ballot, that should be telling us who won and not the courts. That's one. Secondly, there is no election, presidential, governorship, National Assembly. I don't remember any election we've had in Nigeria, especially in this republic, that has not been contested by one person or the other, including the current president, whose election was contested like 1 or 2 years into his presidency the first time. I'm not sure it happened the second time. So with that in mind, do you still think that we need to wait for the courts?
Well, the country cannot wait indefinitely. The point I am making is this. Obviously, it is the people who decide who should be their ruler. By all things being equal, the process that INEC is supposed to have worked on should have brought out a winner that is acceptable to the people. The courts have come in now because there's a discrepancy. And I'm saying what you have just said confirms my feelings that it is not right to have a system that is constantly contested. We should go and find out how is it that every election is being contested. And I think we need to look more carefully at the constitution of INEC. How independent is it? How is it able to actually come out with the wishes of the people? I think the past election have shown very well that we have serious issues in this matter. We had hoped that technology will help us. But we are also seeing now that technology is in the hands of human beings. So we should have to go back to ourselves as a nation. If we decide we will rule ourselves democratically, we must all accept the rules of democracy. And those who want to be in power should allow that rule to run its course. We are seeing so much discussion now among politicians, and the issues that concerns them is who is going to occupy what position in the House, in the National Assembly. We are not hearing about what is going to happen to Nigeria. And we have serious problems on our hands.
Okay. Your Eminence. Please land on that point.
Yes?
Please land on that point, sir.
Pardon? I mean, we have serious problems on our hands, yes, both in terms of security, economy, corruption, and we still have to face it.
Yeah. Well, we'll touch on some of those issues and take your opinion on some of them. But concerning the elections, which is the route through which we employ people who will do the jobs that you have just outlined, there are those who think we have made some significant progress in this particular election compared to previous elections. This is the first time, for instance, that a president-elect is not having up to 50% of all the total votes cast, and the two other parties that are runners-up have enough votes to counter. That's one. Secondly, this is the first time that a good number of governors who wanted to go to the National Assembly were defeated in their own states and are not able to make it to the National Assembly. A number of upsets that make this 2023 election clearly different from previous ones. This is also the first time we're having a third political party take the kind of leadership it has taken in this election, as opposed to others where we've had only two leading political parties. In this one, we have three. There are those who think that because of these and several other facts that we may not be able to detail right now, we have made some significant progress in our electioneering. What's your opinion on that?
Well, my opinion is this. I do not think we should be congratulating ourselves when the right thing happens. We should not be expecting that we shall continue to run rigged elections. And to say we have done very well in this election because some governors lost their bid, it's normal now that they should lose if they don't deserve to win. That is the point we are making. This particular election, if we have had so much problem about it, is because the people have risen. The people have decided that they can no longer continue to accept things being done badly. And I think all Nigerians should rally around that idea that we can do better than we are doing. Why is our country not moving forward? Because we have not been doing things well. So we must not settle for just managing. The rest of Africa is looking up to us, and they are disappointed in us. So and I'm surprised that you are saying that we have done very well. I think we have not done very well. We must accept that so that we can look at what has happened in 2023 and correct things from the root. So, and to make sure that it will not be possible for the wrong people to be put in very sensitive positions. We want to make sure that INEC is truly independent. The system should not be so cumbersome. And I think, let me put in here, the whole issues of our national identity card. I don't know why it is impossible. Most countries, they go vote with their identity cards. So all that, we removed all these PVC problems. I'm hoping that before the next election, a real progress will be made. Those who are contesting the present election, I'm sure they have their reasons for it. That is why the court is important. People are saying the court is the last hope of the ordinary man. So our courts are now on trial. We are waiting. If tomorrow a decision is taken, then I will be comfortable with whomever emerges. I will accept him, even whether I like him or not. I accepted military rulers, so I will accept anybody who emerges. And I do hope the person will rally around Nigerians so that we can jointly face our serious problems. That in the moment this anomalous situation should end.
Indeed, Cardinal, I believe that a lot of Nigerians also share your sentiments in terms of, being able to finish the electoral petitions, particularly that of the presidential election petitions before swearing in. But this is what we currently have. I mean, we've seen this happen over the years since our democracy returned in 1999. That subsequently, since 2003, elections have been disputed, particularly the presidential elections, and oftentimes they, go on and on and on for years, as a matter of fact, until recently when there were electoral reforms now setting time frames within which these election petitions must be conducted. So we know for now, for instance, that the presidential election petition from start to finish, that's from the appeal court to the Supreme Court, must not go beyond a period of 10 months, must be concluded within a period of 10 months. This is what we currently have. And of course, a lot of people will say we certainly can do better if we have the will to. But this is where we are now, that we're going to experience an inauguration with election petition tribunals still ongoing, both at the presidential level and at the state level as well. How do you think that, given what we have, which is a systemic thing, which is now a countrywide situation, how do you think those who have now been given certificates of return, how do you think that they will be able to rally around? Because they will still have their responsibility beyond May 29, wouldn't they?
I'm talking of the government by democracy. This is what we have now. But I am saying we should be able to think beyond what we have now. If we can arrive at setting a limit of 10 months, there is no reason why we shouldn't set a limit that is less than 10 months, that insists that everything must be disposed of before swearing in. This is not a miracle. It does not require a miracle. We should look at other countries who have managed to do it that way. And they have done it because they have organized their electoral system in such a way that litigations are not dragged on indefinitely. Now, my friend, just my feeling is this. If I win an election and everybody supports my victory, I can face my work with confidence. And I do know that the people around are with me. The kind of problem we have in Nigeria is such that we expect now that we should be able to have rulers who do not labor under under questions of legitimacy. They should be able to move on and get the job done and have all of us supporting the work. That is why the person who has now been proclaimed our president-elect has his job very clearly cut out for him. The way this discussion is going, obviously, the court will not finish their work before the swearing in. So we have to settle again for that situation. Meaning having a president ruling us that is under contestation. And I'm saying it is not the best for the country. We can do better for ourselves. It's not about one person or the other. I never knew our president-elect. That's not issue. It's not the person, not even the party. I'm talking about what is best for this country, Nigeria. We cannot continue to manage and think that things will go well.
Cardinal, I think what I was trying to say is that what you're actually asking for is ideal. I mean, and a lot of people support that. But we know that as we currently speak, the tribunals are going to start sitting, especially the Presidential Election Tribunal will start sitting on Monday. I'm trying to remember what date Monday will be. But we know that they will not be able to conclude sitting before inauguration. So we will have a president whose seat will still be contested, as you pointed out, beyond May 29. So what do you think should happen in this scenario, even while we continue to see how we can improve the process?
No, but what I am just saying is that we are now faced with a fait accompli. A situation we have before us. And all of us Nigerians must do our best to make the best of the situation. But I do not think we should consider what I'm saying as just the ideal, meaning an ideal that cannot be achieved. I'm talking not of an ideal that is beyond, that is only utopic. I'm talking of how things ought to be, the right thing to be done. And if our electoral laws does not include that, it should look into itself. And the National Assembly can take that up. It is in the interest of politicians themselves. That is, if they are interested in a democratic election.
Your Eminence, if I may come in here, making the most of the situation as it is. We do know that the tribunals, for instance, will start sitting from the 8th. Tribunal hearings will start from the 8th to determine what the schedule will be like. But if we're going to look to sort of like set an agenda for the situation we have now, where possibly swearing is going to happen before the tribunals are done, what agenda would you want to lay out for the next administration, vis-a-vis where we're coming from?
Only those Nigerians who don't want to be sincere will be looking for agenda. We definitely know what the agenda is. We know that our country is not doing well. 8 years ago, Buhari told us he will face corruption. He will fix the economy. He will give us security. We are still in the same situation. Obviously, any government must face those issues. Otherwise, we can't even survive in this country. Many Nigerians have checked, the young boys who have energy are checking out. I am 80, so I'm not going anywhere. But I'm still dreaming that before I go to paradise, I should see a better Nigeria. And I believe it is possible. I'm talking as somebody who in 1960, when we had our independence, I was a student in Form 4 in my college in Benue State. I believed what we were told, that with independence, Nigeria will become like all the great nations. I've been waiting now for almost 70 years, and we are still where we are. In fact, we seem not to have made much progress. Maybe I'm expecting too much of my country. But that's because I have a high opinion of my nation, and I love my nation. And I hope that I expect that those who are ruling us should share the same emotions, so that we can go all over the world proud.
Your Eminence, is it that...
So as far as agenda for the new government is concerned, is there all of us now will be watching. Is there going to be a change? Is there going to be an improvement? Will insecurity be reduced so that IDPs can go back to their homes? Will electricity work? Will the school run? Will our economy improve? Those are issues we are raising. So there are problems on ground, and I think the new government who has asked us to vote for them, they have a duty. They have a duty to serve us and do what is right. We shall watch. I think we should put our rulers on notice that it can no longer be business as usual. When we keep thanking and hailing rulers who do their duty. A senator comes to the constituency and digs a borehole, and everybody comes around and hails him as if it is his salary. That should end. Rulers should be the servants of the people. May I say that,
if you don't mind, Your Eminence, if I may come in here, we will need to go on a very quick break, and we'll come back to continue the conversation in a minute. Just stay with us. Welcome back. We still have with us on Sunrise Daily this morning His Eminence, John Cardinal Onaiyekan, Archbishop Emeritus of the Abuja Archdiocese. Thank you for staying with us, Your Eminence.
Allowed to explain why I'm talking the way I'm talking. I belong to a church. I belong to a church which has a principle of what politics is. That is based on our whole idea that leadership is service. That politics is a noble but difficult art. Not everybody should be in politics, but that those who go into politics should go not thinking of their own inconvenience, but be ready to sacrifice themselves for the common good to the glory of God. Is that our idea of politics in Nigeria? If you hear what people think politics is, they think it is if you are lucky, you get in and you become very rich. Then you can order people around, drive them away from the road with your siren and so on. But that is will not carry us anywhere. We have examples of countries where political leaders are really servants of the people. They are humble. They move around among the people they are serving, and the thing works well. We don't have to be extremely rich to be happy. And I think our country can gradually move in that direction. Those who have the interest of the country at heart should enter politics and change these rules. And we have a problem on our hands. And somehow you keep hearing people saying somebody has no political experience. And I ask myself, what experience? Those who have been ruling us for the past 16 years, is that the experience we want to continue with? Isn't it about time that we start asking questions? Isn't there a better way of doing things? And this is why we thank God that new voices are emerging. And I think we should see that as a sign of progress, but not continue to think that we have congratulated ourselves that we have done very well, whereas we know we have not. We don't want to deceive ourselves. What is the question, please?
Your Eminence, if in the last election, Nigeria, the fault lines in our country were really more like brought to the fore, ethnic, religious fault lines, and these fault lines came to the fore. And if you are going to have a word of advice for Nigerians, not just the politicians, Nigerians generally, I mean, going forward, even as we begin to look at how to better our democracy, how to better our nation, what would be that advice to Nigerians?
Advice, first, there's advice to Nigerians, but there's advice to the rulers. Advice to Nigerians is that poor Nigerians, we are the victims now. We are the victims. Once it comes to suffering the consequences of bad ruling, there is no difference between Christian and Muslim, between Yoruba, Igbo, and Hausa. So, and I think the people know that. Go to Wuse Market, go to the offices. Nigerians have no problem with one another on the basis of those fault lines that you are talking about. Unfortunately, the rulers seem to want to manipulate those fault lines because it helps them to climb into power. My advice, therefore, to the rulers is this. Not only advice, I'm begging them. One big duty they owe to Nigeria is to bring Nigerians together, to stop exploiting our differences, our religious differences, our ethnic differences, and even add on to it their political differences. To realize that what we have before us, the problems of our nation, requires that all of us join our hands together and face it. I repeat, when it comes to the consequences of bad government, which is the pains on the people, there is no fault line. The only fault line is between those who are lucky to escape and those who are caught in the problem. So the only fault line in Nigeria now, as far as I'm concerned, are those who are happy with the status quo and those who are not happy with it. And I believe the majority are not really happy.
Indeed, some people will say perhaps that's even reflected in terms of how the votes went, even as, shown by INEC. I'm just wondering, I mean, talking about fault lines and, the role that politicians play, you've spoken about how politicians now need to work together to, unite Nigerians as new administrations come in at different levels. I'm just wondering, when you now reflect on the role that, not just ethnicity, but also the role that religion played, some people will say it would not have been possible for religion to have played such a huge role if religious leaders too did not allow it.
Well, it is easy enough to throw the blame on religious leaders instead of putting it in the right place. Although I do agree that, when in these matters, you don't know anymore when somebody is a religious leader and when he is a political religious leader with political ideas, political agenda. And we have that problem in Nigeria. But I do think that we cannot put the blame on religious leaders. If by that you mean the people we recognize as religious leaders. All I can say, though, is that religious leaders ought to be on the alert, to be careful not to allow themselves to be manipulated, and to do their best to make sure that religion becomes an asset for the good of the nation, instead of being seen all the time as if it is a problem. Let's face it, the average Nigerian who goes to mosque every Friday and goes to church every Sunday is sure in his mind that religion is good for him. It is not a liability. And it is up to the rulers to be able to harness the positive elements of religion for the good of the people, instead of climbing on it and using it because they want to climb into power. We are seeing this in all this talk about zoning, about balancing. That is, again, where ethnic differences is being used and manipulated, not for the sake of the people, but for the sake of power. Okay, right now, our president-elect is a Yoruba man. Does that mean that every Yoruba man is now happy? We've had a Hausa Fulani man ruling us for 8 years. We still have a lot of poverty in the north. So we should not allow ourselves to be bamboozled with all this political discussion. And we religious leaders have the duty to continue to put forward the positive element of our faith. I am a Catholic, I'm a Cardinal, and I have no apologies about who I am, what I believe, because I believe that what my faith teaches me helps me to live a good life, not just as a Christian, but as a human being and a citizen. This should be seen in all religions and by all religious leaders. If Nigerian Christians lived according to the principle of their faith, and Muslims do the same, we will have a wonderful country.
Indeed. So I'm just wondering, does it trouble you that, in spite of all of the religion that we profess, this is still where we are? And even the politicians, they are not atheists. Most of them belong to one religion or the other. So we have to ask questions as to how is it that we're really practicing this religion? As a religious leader, is this something that really disturbs you?
Looking at those primordial distinctions of religion and ethnicity, because that way you can get the people not to face the reality that is hitting them. But if you had a good government and policies are being applied fairly and equitably across board, nobody will be complaining that I'm a Muslim or you are dealing me like this because I'm a Christian or because I'm a Muslim. But people will not be talking that way. I'm not putting some of these countries in the world as examples or as models, but you know that there are countries where you don't have that kind of problem, because when somebody has problem, you don't run to your pastor, you don't run to your imam, you insist on your right being given to you, because government is doing its work. Some people have said that even our political leaders have manipulated our poverty situation. When people are poor, we are told they are no longer able to even reason well. You give them a bag of rice, and then they are supposed to vote for you and mortgage the next 4 years of their lives. And that is possible because they are poor. But if they were not poor, they would tell you, away with your bag of rice. And if they worked harder so that they cannot be manipulating people with little handouts here and there, then it will be better for everybody, including, that's where religion comes in. People come in and say, I'm a good Catholic, or I'm a good Muslim, I'm a this, I'm a good Pentecostal, and so on, vote for me. And I ask myself, oh, I want to vote for you if you are going to be a good politician. I'm not saying that if you are a good Christian, you won't be a good politician. In fact, I expect that if you are a good Christian and you are a good, you should be a good politician if you are a politician. But that should not be the issue. It's the whole issue about, for example, am I looking for a Christian president or a Muslim president? I'm looking for a president who will serve Nigerians in such a way that Christians and Muslims will feel at home and not have cause to be bickering among themselves. Much of the bickering between religious groups are as a result of government policies that have not been evenly distributed. And I think we need to, the religious leaders may have a lot of job to do on their own part, to be on their guard and not allow themselves and their religions to be ridiculed, to be hijacked by others for their own purposes. It's not.
Your Eminence, my apologies for yes. If you can still hear me, Your Eminence.
I'm hearing you.
Yes, I'd like you to conclude on this note, to go back in time to that time of independence that you raised the other time, and bring us quickly forward to the issue that you're just raising now, not of religion, but of God. The first national anthem of Nigeria had God in it. The second national anthem in the second verse starts with, O God of creation, and it's literally a prayer. The national pledge concludes with, so help me God. Starts with, I pledge, and concludes with, so help me God.
And every politician swears. And every politician swears. They swear by God.
Okay, so that's the issue. What is, if everyone is swearing by God and we are hoping for a great nation and we actually plan and pray that this great nation will happen, there are those who have argued whether or not there is a vision for which we should pray that God will help us all. There are those who wonder whether there is a vision for Nigeria for which we should pray that God will help us to achieve. What, do you see that as a significant issue?
My own understanding of religion is that God is the creator and ultimate provider. But he has created us with intellect and a will, and he has given us the wherewithal to manage our affairs well. And therefore, we have this always mentioned that we should work and pray. We pray, but we must also work. We cannot blame God if we are stupid and mismanage our own affairs. But if we manage our affairs well, then God will bless us. And so those who keep calling on the name of God and are doing things which are completely against the will of God as expressed by his laws and his principles, they are actually insulting God. Everybody knows when he is doing the right thing and when he's doing the bad thing. Those who rigged the election know they rigged election. Those who didn't allow the people's will to prevail, they know it. Those who have heated up the policy, they know it in their heart of hearts. And the wonderful thing is that God himself knows them. We may not know. Even the court may not know. But God knows them and they know themselves. So if the more we mention God, the more we should be on we should be on guard, not to be found to be using the name of God in vain. There are countries who don't want to mention God, but they are running their affairs well. But if we decide to keep mentioning God, we must run our affairs according to God's will. Otherwise, we end up giving God a bad name. God forbid. Now, as I'm now talking as a cardinal, I just ask my fellow countrymen, we should not apologize for the fact that we keep God constantly in our prayers and in our national life. We can't throw God away. But that means we must run our affairs and live our lives according to God's will, and we cannot pretend we don't know what God wants of us.
Thank you so much. We've been speaking with His Eminence John Cardinal Onaiyekan, Archbishop Emeritus of the Archdiocese of Abuja. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us today, Your Eminence, and we do wish you for this.
Bless our nation. We shall overcome.
Amen.
But we have not reached there yet.
Amen. Thank you very much. And that is Sunrise today. But just before we go, let's see if we can take Mark. But do we have any mails from our
we're hoping to see some pictures of Nigerians who have returned from Sudan in recent times. Hopefully we'll be able to, yes, indeed, those are the pictures, or their parents who were waiting for them, you know, knowing that their people were coming back, not just parents, now family members, most likely. Very soon, I'm sure we'll be seeing pictures of those who eventually return. You can see the buses on the ground to convey them. That's Nigeria C-130, the military aircraft, which you can also see there. People returning eventually, giving hugs to their family members. Some of them really happy to touch down on Nigeria's soil. You can see those pictures right there. Others quite pensive, perhaps a little traumatized, traumatized from what they've been through. Just to be able to get back home. Don't forget that they were fleeing a situation of war in Sudan. And, you know, there'll be expectations about the future. But those are some of the pictures that you're seeing, them filing into the bus, perhaps on their way to being processed.
I understand the government's giving them some grants to help them settle in.
Okay, that's on the bus. Some pictures there as well. Maybe some of them also not wanting their pictures to be taken, but those are pictures of people taking their luggage from the military C-130 when it eventually landed. So questions, and you can see people carrying more than one bag. So yes, maybe indeed, Nyota, as our correspondent reported, maybe the issue was actually excess luggage, because the Nigerian authorities were very clear: do not come with more than one bag.
But then the question is, what would you be willing to leave behind?
Indeed.
If you have the opportunity to move your things.
I think the prayer always is never to be faced with such a situation. True. Sudan, you know, offers lessons on what needs to be done for African countries, especially because it's not the only place where there's war now. Ukraine and Russia are still having their own crisis. But within a country, when you see what is happening in an African country like Sudan, which is very close to Somalia, which you think would have learned lessons, you know, from that country, and us as well. I just hope that we are taking, you know, copious notes and knowing that whatever it is we have, we need to learn to manage. Well, that's the program this beautiful Thursday morning, and we're happy to end with those pictures of our compatriots coming back home, fleeing the situation in Sudan. Back home, hale and hearty, the first batch. Hopefully we should see much more very soon. Thank you for watching. I'm Mark Ogun Yusuf.
And I'm Nel Taigbe. Remember, you have a responsibility to be a change, positive change where you are, before you look to the other person to make their own change. Thank you. I'm Nel Taigbe.
I'm Ayo Makinde. Have a wonderful day.